Respected jury, thank you for giving me this opportunity to present. Myself, Parth Mehta. I'm a student of Bachelor's in Urban Design, and for the next 7 minutes, I'm going to talk about Ukiyo by books defined as transient world. The project Ukiyo, End of Anthropocentric Intervention, tries to achieve an ideal space for sensitive microecosystem with minimum human exploration. The site is located on the western edge of Sabarmati River, as known as Green City. Gandhinagar has plenty of urban parks and neighborhood gardens. Cities with mix of hybrid landscapes such as protected forests, botanical gardens, and highly maintained public spaces also consist of unrecognized wilderness species. Due to the geography of the site next to the riverbank embanked by dam, the water level on the edge of the site is preserved. This has provided soil enough moisture throughout the time to preserve the green and allow different species of trees and vegetation to survive. On the right are the images of the existing site conditions with changing terrains, natural trees, inhabited biodiversity. This unexplored patch of Gandhinagar at the river edge thus offers a matrix of plantation, habitation for birds and insects, space, and essential amenities for people to come and explore. In order to create harmonious relationship between human and nature so that they both can coexist, UQ, almost transient, unobstructive architecture intervention are introduced. The design methodology addresses the importance of preservation of existing and exploring potential spots for sensitive interventions. On the right is a step-by-step process and considerations made by detailing the master plan. First step was to analyze the existing topography and land cover. With that, overall swale and water catchment network was formed with juxtaposition of natural trails. With extremely less footprint of less than 1% of overall site, architecture interventions were introduced with respect to the different ground conditions. Gandhinagar riverfront is spread across a vast area, 1.4 kilometers in the north-south and 1.2 kilometers in the east-west direction. The transient architecture is based on the response to the ground condition that defines the nature of microecosystem existing on the site. The master plan of the patch near Jhar Road is upland patch. In the center, due to existing topography, there are areas where water gets collected during certain months of the year, allowing varied vegetation to grow and acts as a habitat to many birds and organisms. We call it in between. The hatch area at the river edge is riparian zone, hence it's preserved. The small fragmented patches are introduced with varied plantation palette, which can provide feeding zone for many birds and small organisms. Walkable trees are explored with minimum cut and fill that allows exploration across site. Existing trees are left untouched, considering the habitat various other beings. The image shows the existing and proposed site section along horizontal axis. In order to represent depth of the site, the value of the height is extrapolated into z-axis in order to visualize the water catchment areas. The balance is created in the scale of existing nature and intervention, such that it camouflages in the wilderness. This allows water retention, surface of vegetation and habitation for birds, small mammals, insects, and more. The attitude towards bringing nature back in the city is confined to sparsely developed parks or very high maintenance formal landscapes. But here, giving back to nature is by inhabiting architecture in the ring of wilderness. Upland are the areas lying above the elevation that represents vast majority of land areas, including rock outcrops, scrublands, grasslands, and dry forests. Such landscape is introduced with architecture specific to it. Structure spans 25 meters in XY axis, assembled using modular, in order to minimize disruption and left maximum spaces untouched. As visible on the isometric drawings, ramps and decks are provided considering connection across structure and different levels. The upland structure tries to bring nature in and acts as a foraging ground for various organisms. With grasslands and dry forest around, the height of the structure is restricted to 15 meters to camouflage with trees around. The canopies of the structure allows light to penetrate and also provide shades to certain part of the structure. This allows mixed conditions for varied biodiversity. The decks provides viewing experience for nature enthusiasts and porous volumes allows accessibility across modules for other beings. This structure is then a framework to life to grow on it. The planting palette is introduced that can retain soil nutrition and structure span over the land. Precisely, the vegetation around this structure is planted with creeper and nectar-rich flowers that can take over the nature with time and attract various native species of organisms, which today is in extinct due to human-centric developments. On the right is a visualization of structure post-Anthropocene. The in-between landscape provides many societal benefits, food and habitat for fish and wildlife, including threatened and endangered species, improving water quality, shoreline erosion control, and more. The porosity of the structure allows light to penetrate to the ground surface, with limited decks and exclusive layout of staircases. Humans are restricted in parts of the structure, while wilderness will grow within the time. The accessible decks are spread in a manner that allows only visual access to humans. This canopy are framed across structure in a manner that habitat can be created on each and every level. The structure sits in between soggy soil, water-loving plants, and water. With availability of water, vegetation can thrive throughout the year, which allows food for other beings that will inhabit in the structure. The form is achieved considering at the most porosity and frame structures that are inspired from nature. These different types of framework are suitable for different species. Hence, with time, the structure blends in nature and functional microecosystem evolves. Rich native vegetation palette is introduced over here in order to enrich untouched nature. With nectar-rich flower and habitat contexts like birds like shikara, ibis, and many more are attractive. On right is an illustration of nature taking over the structure and using the framework to let nature view by itself. The space between becomes valuable in terms of life it offers to other beings as it sustains. Here, the interface between the land and the river is rich in the terrestrial biome found at Gandhinagar riverfront. The edge encounters different water levels across the year, and hydrophilic vegetation have thrived on the soft edge. These zones are conserved due to the riparian quality. The structure stays on the column across river edge that partially touches river bank. The structure with dense framework allows water plant to grow, creating biofilter and stops excessive pollution entering during the surface runoff. The river edge structure with its large open canopies and framework underwater provides foraging and feeding ground for the birds and other beings. The structure becomes a source of food and shelter to many aquatic and other terrestrial animals, which helps in the biological restoration of the space. The idea here is to create a self-sustaining mechanism with nature that inhabits. The palette provides food and attracts different terrestrial animals on the river edge. This will provide in biological restoration of the space. Structure inhabits varied organisms underwater and on land considering water level. Biodiversity is totally a web of life. Thus, we have to think beyond sight in our understanding, in our neighborhood, and in our city. The sensitive network across the city is speculated considering wilderness in the urban fabric. With sensible and minimalistic approach, humans are now audience of an evolving landscape shaped by nature. In image extrusion shows the quantity of open space available and with area metrics suitable transient structures that can be camouflaged with scales of surrounding and with the type of ground condition. This unsettling scenario defines a different position within our environment, overturning our relation with urban nature and giving us a role of guests in a city.